All right, all right. We are live. So, happy Friday here, guys. Let's see here. Typically, this lags for a few seconds to let this all load in. Happy Friday, though, guys. Just missed me inhaling coffee down the wrong pipe. So, joined here today with Jerod. So, Jerod is a client of ours. I'm really excited to have him on here today. Last month, Jerod was able to book in 11 sales calls into his business, brought on 8 new clients. So really good, high quality sales calls, a good number of calls, and converting a very high percentage of those. And today I wanted to bring him on here, just kind of like talk him through. Let's see, a little bit of lag. Hopefully this catches up. If not, I'll have to switch my camera over. But I wanted to bring him on here today and just kind of chat with you guys and share with you what it is we've been working on and just walk you through what he's been doing to find success inside of his business. And so, yeah, dude, because we were actually just talking about just before going live. We forget the exact date, but we started working together. And what did we decide? September, October?
So I think it's late September. Yeah, almost like the very last week of September. Yeah.
So, really, in a relatively short period of time, just really throwing some fuel in the fire and getting some good momentum in business. Maybe, dude, let me step back real quick. Introduce yourself real quick. Your business, who it is you serve, your program, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, so Jerod Gordon, I own 540 Performance, with the main goal of helping former athletes try to find some balance beyond their high school, collegiate careers, stay active, um, lose weight, be fit, basically just continue to be athletic beyond playing sports.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool because that was kind of a brand. You kind of came to us with like that was the ideal client that you really liked to work with, but we weren't maybe super clear on that was necessarily like the goal with the business. So we did a lot of maybe a good place to start would just be like where we started from the ground up. And when we first started, because you weren't super clear at the time, like we sat down on several one-to-one workshops and kind of talked through like this stuff of like, hey, the ex-athletes and like who it was you actually wanted to serve. We spent a lot of time talking about like content and like, what content's actually going to click with your ideal client. Maybe walk us back then, like even from like beginning of the year, like what going on, like where were you possibly like lacking some clarity in some of this stuff? Like who was the clients you were getting? And walk through maybe that leading up to that.
Sure. So starting back at the beginning of the year, I've had success over the past 3 to 4 years. It's been consistent progress, making a couple $100 a month to start, then maybe like $1,000. It's been gradual progress, like I said, 3 to 4 years, maybe 20, 30% growth. And it just seemed like I'm going to get there, but it's going to take me way longer than I would like to. So how can I quit taking all these little baby steps and start making bigger steps? So most of my clients knew me personally. Maybe I had coached them in the past at a gym, or just word of mouth a little bit would get around. But it was kind of what you already talked about, where I was helping everybody, and then trying to send that message out as, hey, I can help anybody. It says nothing, right? It's too broad. My messages were they were probably bland at best, right? It didn't speak to anybody. It didn't resonate with anybody. And I think we had chatted, I want to say maybe earlier in the year, maybe springtime. I was just kind of curious, and we had touched base, and I had already invested in a different program. Wasn't really happy with that, so I was still a little bit gun shy. And then, yeah, I don't know what it was about September or August that I was like, you know what, let's just go for it, and revisit that conversation. Um, and so, not to get in too much of a different direction, but the biggest part, like you said, was just finding clarity in my message,
Mm,
because I feel like everybody's like, oh, I help moms, I help dads, I help whatever, and so I didn't have a clear voice in that aspect. I was just putting out what everybody else was putting out. And so clarifying that message, made it easier for me to post content. It made it easier for people to connect with me. And, to be honest, since September, um, I haven't really done a great deal of like cold reach outs. A lot of
Hmm.
people are reaching out to me, and I'm not DMing them. They're the one reaching out to me because of something I posted, last week or the week before, and it finally just like clicked with them. Hey, I want to chat with Jerod to kind of see what he's about.
Yeah. How has content creation like been since even from just like an enjoyment level, like an ease of like even just putting content out since we've like worked through some of this stuff? Was that even an issue before?
Yeah, 100%. Um, it was I think I struggle with the same thing that a lot of people do, which is you feel like you're saying the same message that everybody else is saying. Or is why am I saying this and what's going to make somebody connect with me more so than somebody else who's talking about the same exact things? Hey, you have low energy, you're out of shape, you want to lose weight. Like
Mm,
everybody's saying that. Um, so when I was able to niche down and narrow like who it is I wanted to speak to as somebody who struggled with the same thing, did all kinds of sports in high school, competed collegiately, obviously in college. And then afterward, it was probably 3 or 4 years where I just felt lost. Where like, what am I
mm,
doing? I'm going and doing bodybuilding splits at Gold's Gym, and I'm getting bored with that. To trying to figure out what the next step was for me to still stay. I don't want to say relevant, but still stay like, hey, feel competitive, but realize I don't have to go and do the exact same things. And so I know there are millions of people out there who've gone through the same thing, who struggle with it. And when I
oh
can
yeah.
speak to it, like truly from like, hey, I know this sucks. Um, and when I can speak to that from my own personal experience, I think that's what makes it authentic, clearly, and it makes it very real for them. They're like, I know exactly what he's talking about. And
Mm,
so writing content then is a hell of a lot easier when you just pulling from your own passion, not trying to fabricate something that isn't there.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, dude. And it's like it's so fun to get to that place because I don't know if you're anything like me, but like before when I wasn't clear on that kind of stuff in my business, I always thought that it was like, I had to be this like wizard copywriter and like what's the secret formulas and I would obsess over like, what's the viral hooks and things like that. And when I actually like figured out my message, it was just more like I don't know how to say it. Like it just kind of flows. You're just like, dude, this is what I want to fucking post about today, and you don't even think about, oh, this follows this copywriting principle, and it's got this, cool little formula hooked into it, and then I'm gonna do this. Like you literally just share your message and like the things that you're excited. So I've loved to have seen that transformation because I know that was something we spent a lot of time talking about, which was just like really diving deep into like that spirit of athleticism and just like, dude, because I can totally relate to that as well, like high school sports and we were both like runners and stuff, and it's like fun to show up to practice and you bullshit and you make fun of each other and you go out and you run your ass off and shit. And then you leave high school and it's like that's no longer there. So I
Mm-hmm.
love to see like you filled that space. Walk me through then, like, so what has been since you've kind of changed your messaging? And I know you were getting some of those ideal clients before, but then you were also getting some that maybe weren't as ideal. And it was just kind of like, eh. How has the coaching experience actually been like with these, like now that you're actually attracting ideal clients?
Yeah, I wouldn't really say that things have changed that much. It's just maybe the interaction's a little bit different in terms of how I communicate with them because I have some clients who are just like everyday average person just wanting to lose weight. They want a clear plan, so they come and reach out to me like, cool, we can do that. But the ones who I know want that extra push, it's kind of like the same thing you talked about, like a little bit of shit talking in a very like positive way. Like, I don't think you can do
Yeah,
6 rounds. I don't
yeah,
think you can do this in 6 minutes or something like that. And they're like, okay, well, game on. And then they're talking smack in the app. Like, so that stuff's kind of cool, but nothing major in terms of how I coach in particular. Um, that's about it.
yeah, yeah. Cool, dude. No, I love to hear that. So obviously then like content and messaging and stuff was a big shift. What else I guess do you feel like was like maybe some of the biggest like maybe mistakes you were making, or maybe some things that was there anything else that kind of stands out to you that you feel like has maybe like aided you in seeing some of this momentum, or was it really just the messaging and getting that piece together for you?
Uh, so good question. I think it was a number of things. Obviously, content played a big part. Being more consistent with that. I was okay with that. I wasn't great, 2 to 3 times a week versus 4 to 5 times a week. Um, and I think one of the shifts as well was kind of like you talked about. I had this weird belief that every post I made had to be like fire. It had to be like
Yeah.
just freaking awesome, and it's not. Sometimes, like you said, it's just like spit what's out in your brain. Maybe it connects with somebody. Maybe it goes completely dead, but it's okay because just because somebody hasn't commented or liked or whatever the post doesn't mean it hasn't gained traction. Because I've had people reach out to me because of a post that seemed very, very insignificant, but they still did
Dude.
those things. Um, Better about reaching out to people who I know need my help too. Um,
Mm,
so if they're commenting on things and I see, I kind of sort of chat with them, you know, um, not to immediately sell to them, but just to understand where they're at. Like, hey, are they looking for help? Are they not looking for help? Is it
yep.
somebody that I feel like we would connect with and work well, or is it not? Um, but there are people out there who want help, and sometimes they're a little bit too scared or too apprehensive to ask. And
Mm,
so sometimes it's just helping them get out of their own way. Like,
yeah.
hey, you told me this. You want to get better. You feel like you're at a point in life where you can do that. Why haven't you done anything? And the answer is like, I don't know, or I'm scared. Like, right, let's
Yeah.
talk through this whole process. So that's been number two. And then number three has been people talk about it all the time. Like you hear like Hermosi talk about it all the time, is giveaway value. And so I've tried more and more to do that at a different level, and it just makes the conversations a lot easier. Um, whether or not they would have a conversation about, improving their health and fitness, great. If not, like, cool, they leave on a good note, knowing that I gave them something of value that it's actually going to help them. And it's like, I don't ask anything in return. If you don't want to talk,
Yeah.
that's fine. Here it is, cool. Because maybe they don't work with me, but maybe they think, hey, I know a friend who's looking for help. I'm going to send them to Jerod just because, he handed out some goodwill to me, even though I'm not really at that place.
Yeah. Dude,
So
that's what I
a long
love.
winded answer.
No, dude, that's like I love to hear all that. Because I absolutely agree. And your third point is actually I was going to kind of follow up with that with point two of, I've seen so many I mean I've joined a bunch of different programs. I see people posting on the timeline and stuff a lot. And I've just seen like the vast majority of the approach that people have been taught to the DMs and like just sales in general is just like hardcore, just like slam, 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 pushing people through. And the beauty of like how we do things, it's literally like you said, like it's so much, it's exactly what like Hormozy pushes. There's so many, it's like how I've done business for the last 8 years as well. And it actually feels good of like genuinely when we reach out to people, it's like you're there to figure out like what's this person's problems and like how can you help them. And you know what, sometimes it is paid, sometimes it's like, hey, I think the best way to help you is just to get you in the program. But we also have all kinds of free resources and valuable like this literal live stream right here, there is value packed in this. And when I reach out to someone, if someone talks to me about like just like not being sure really how to approach things and feeling salesy. Like, dude, this is literally an asset that I can send to someone and genuinely help them. And like it completely changes sales when it's like when you're reaching out, it's just not about just making a sale. It's like there's a bigger long-term picture there of like providing value in the space, building a reputation of being that person who always, has good stuff. And you know what? sometimes the best way to help someone is just through free stuff. It's just like, cool, dude. Like, let me just send you over a couple playbooks. Let me send you a couple resources. And then, like you said, like you're actually a prime example of this. We talked like earlier this year, and I want
Hmm.
to even say like we've kind of been in touch. Like I want to say you've even followed me for like been in our work. Um, let's see if it's lagging there a little bit. Can you still hear me all right?
Yeah.
Cool. Like you'd even been in our world for I want to say like even possibly like up year, maybe even like 2 years. And like if we had just like slam every time I talk to you is just like trying to just like force something down your throat, it's like, yeah, dude, like you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like you would have never became a client or worked with us or any of this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And so it's interesting to reverse engineer some of that stuff and like think about like how do you actually want to represent yourself online and like what's the reputation you want to build? And personally, I love that stuff that like is clicking with you because that's same exact. It's like I want to be a person that's known providing value. I want to be a person that's known has a reputation of putting good stuff out. It just like feels better. Even it's easier to approach the DMs. It's easier to do all of this stuff and on the other side of it, like you also, you end up landing a bunch of clients as well. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's so like too, it's almost like when sales and making money is not the number one focus, you oddly make more sales and money, you know?
Hmm.
So anyways, dude, no, I love that. I love that. I was actually that's I love to hear that you went there. That's what I was like gonna follow up with. So cool. So a little bit of DMs, a little bit of content messaging, providing value. You feel like those are like really the big three things that have like been clicking with you. Um, yeah, dude. I guess like would there be, and maybe this is a little bit of a repetitive question, but like was there ever like a moment that you can think back to of like something that just like kind of finally clicked for you that just like shifted everything, or has this just been kind of like a gradual build up the last couple months?
Um, again, I think the biggest thing, and it's where I struggled, and was just again clarity of message. Um, speak to if you're trying to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. You just need to have the voice that connects with the people you want to connect with. And again, like the one that you helped me find was just one that was always there. I just didn't realize that was part of the clientele I already had.
Mm,
So just doing that makes a big difference because I think it maybe it just provided more belief in the messages that I was promoting. So um, if I just advertise to like, hey, if you're guys who are 35 plus, you want to lose weight, like, cool, like I get that. Personally, I've never been like severely overweight, so that's harder for me to connect with, aside from being in the same age demographic. But for people who play sports and don't play sports anymore, and they're trying to keep themselves active because that competitiveness never really ever goes away, cool, that sticks. I can speak to that. And so I think that comes through in the messaging that I put because it just feels more um, for lack of better words, personal. So
yeah.
that's probably been the biggest thing. I was doing okay with DMs, not as good as I should have been. Um, Same thing with all the other things we chatted about, but that's probably the number one thing. And until you really get that figured out, I don't think anything else matters.
I totally agree. It's like when we talk about like the offer, the niche, the message, just getting that kind of stuff dialed in. It's like that's the foundation of like that's literally like, hey, this is my mission. This is like my company's thesis and values and like the direction I'm gonna go. And dude, it is one of the most important pieces. Like if you lack clarity in that, everything else is harder because it's like you're trying to sell a program and a product that like you're not even 100% sure what it is.
Hmm.
And I can say for myself, like that's a when I've been in those places, it's like frustrating because you just feel like I mean, you want to show up every single day. It's like, we're these fitness coaches. I got this great work ethic. Like I'm willing to show up and grind. But then you're just like, but dude, like, what am I grinding through? Like, what am I actually doing? Like, what is this thing that I'm selling? And you get on a sales call and you're just like a little bit hesitant and stuff. So I totally agree with you, dude. It's the I just always view it as like it is literally the foundation to your business.
Hmm.
So I like it, dude. I like it. I guess when you think back to when you think back, so like we talk about a lot, it's like and I think this is a part of like every coaching program. Like you kind of go through like an identity shift, right? Of like you join up to a program and whether there are like beliefs that you hold or if there are like actions that you're doing or not doing or skills that you have, or maybe there's just things you're unaware of. Um, there's like an identity shift as you like aware of like, hey, I'm being this person, I'm executing way, but I need to be over here. So like for you, when you think about like if you were to give advice to maybe there's like another coach that's you like back in January, or even if you were to speak to yourself like back in January, um, I guess like what's the advice that you would give to that coach? Like, is there a different person they need to become, or like what is it that they need to be doing, how to be thinking, to yeah, dude, like be where you're at now, where it's like you're booking in sales calls, you're landing clients, like things are clicking, it's moving smoothly.
Um, it's going to sound repetitive, but I'm going to go back to the same message I just said, which is to figure out clarity in your message. Figure out who it is that you want to help. Figure out who that audience is, and and I'll say this: the thing that scared me about doing that, which I found to be completely untrue, the thing that I was scared about was if I only try to speak to those people, then I'm eliminating every other option out there, which is
Mm,
100% not true. Um, because I maybe um when the hell was it? So I think this might have been part of the reason that we connected. Um, I went with my wife's family down to Florida for Disney for a vacation or whatever, and I was listening to a podcast, and the guy was talking about a very similar thing. I don't know if you know who Eric Cressy is, baseball. He's like the baseball strength and conditioning guy,
okay.
and they were talking about when they first started their facility. They had the same thought. He's like, "Hey, we need to make sure we're talking about hockey and lacrosse and all this stuff." And his business partner was like, "Okay, well, if somebody wants to go to get better at hockey, what gym do they go to?" And he said, "Oh, they go to this gym." They want to go to get better at baseball or football. Which gym do they go to? They go to this one. He goes, "What about baseball?" Because they come here. He said, "But in spite of that, like we still have the guy who wants to run a marathon, but he thinks, hey, if they're good enough for a professional baseball player, they're good enough for just me. He wants to go run a marathon." And so when I look back at that, I think that was a mental shift for me where again I thought if I only spoke to one audience, then nobody else would want to work with me. And that hasn't been the
Mm,
case at all. Just because I speak to one audience, again, I think it's the thing where they think, hey, if they're good enough for somebody who's played collegiately, then cool, they can work with me who's never done anything athletic in their life and just wants to be fit. And I still get those people
yeah.
in there too, despite the fact that I'm not trying to avidly speak to them. And that's the biggest thing. You don't have to be scared that you're going to miss anybody. It just clarifies your message, so it's easier to get out. But you're not really eliminating anybody else by doing that. And that's probably the number one thing I would tell myself, if I could start the year again, and be 50% ahead early in the year.
Dude, yeah. There's a big I would totally agree. I feel like there's a big fear there of like, it's kind of like a FOMO fear almost of like a fear of missing out of like, oh, if I
Mm-hmm.
do that, I'm just gonna lose, I'm gonna tank my business, I'm not gonna get as many clients, I'm not gonna get as many leads. It's interesting because I've had a similar experience where I can remember back in the day a mentor basically on a Zoom call just like talking to me and like kind of calling me out on this. And he was just like, dude, like you have to build a reputation for something. And it's like, so it's like best to just like pick the thing that you're passionate about, actually become known for something. And you're absolutely right, dude. Like other people will still, it's like if Susie sees you can train, ex collegiate athletes and she just wants to run a 5K, like, does she feel like you're qualified? Like, absolutely. She probably thinks you're
Hmm.
like the go-to expert. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Versus gym bro, gym girl that's like, oh, like I help busy people lose fat without giving up foods you enjoy. It's like, cool, dude. Like nothing about that screams that you're an expert or that you're good at what you do. You see you over here. Oh, I know Jerod did, he ran back in college and high school and everything. It's like, yeah, dude, that's who I'm gonna go to.
Right.
So I like it, dude. Well, cool, man. Dude, this has been a good one. I love this because I feel like this is there are so many coaches out there that actually struggle with this. I would say this is just lack of clarity is one of the biggest things I feel like that holds so many people back. It's like, you can have the perfect plan. You can know like, oh, I need to be sending DMs or like, oh, I know that I need to be taking sales calls. But there's just something about clarity, dude, that would just like really mess with your head. So this is going to be a super valuable one for people. Is there anything else, I guess, that you want to mention or anything else you feel like could be helpful for people, like as you've anything that stands out that's really shifted for you?
Um, nothing immediately comes to mind, and I know how it is. The moment we hop off this call, I'll probably think of
You're like,
three or four things. I just I'll say this, like what made things easier for me than I imagine it is for a lot of other people is, I already had 15, 20 clients already at the time.
mm-hmm,
So the basics of what I did were already established. They were already, second place. It's not like I'm starting brand new, like, hey, I want to be a online fitness coach tomorrow and I have no clue where to start, because that would be very daunting for me. I think that'd be very daunting for anybody. So I
yep,
came in with, a base already. So, adding more and more to it wasn't as big a deal as trying to start completely fresh. Um, but you got to sink your teeth in somewhere, and having that, again, going back to the same damn thing, having a clarity of what it is you want to do, planning those things out just makes it infinitely easier. And I'm like I said, I'd probably be 50% ahead of where I am right now had I uh, just had a more uh, succinct idea of what it is I wanted to do, as opposed to
mm-hmm,
just everywhere and everybody.
yeah. Dude, and that's kind of like training too, right? Like you see people that go into the gym and like they're always kind of bouncing from program to program or doing all this different stuff. And it's the same exact thing too. And then it's like, cool, finally decide on something of like, hey, I'm going to go do this 5K, or I'm going to do this marathon, or I'm going to sign up for this powerlifting meet. And then it's like, boom, like they start seeing like really good results. I feel like business and the gym have like a lot of parallels of like, if you don't understand what it is you're setting out to do, it's just so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. It's a really good message, dude. Um, yeah, man. Dude, I really appreciate your time and everything here today. This is really good. I guess like so we have a Christmas offer out by the way, and there are 3 spots left inside of that Christmas offer. And I'm actually in some really good combos. Those sounds like we might be filling up some more of those today. What would you say to anybody out there that's maybe looked at our Christmas offer, they're maybe thinking about talking to us, um, having had to make that kind of scary jump of like, who do I join a program? Do I invest in something? What would you say to them? I guess kind of sitting on the fence and maybe even just considering just talking to us.
Yeah. I look at it this way: like, a conversation costs you nothing. It costs you some time. Um, Maybe it just helps you realize things you didn't even know were a problem, or things that could be addressed that would make a big change in what you're already doing. And so it does help to get outside of your own. I use this phrase a lot: get outside of your own like echo chamber, get outside of your own vacuum. Um, but no, knowing what I know now, I think I sent this to Alli when we chatted last. Like, I wish I could have started sooner, because I would just be 3, 4, or 5 months ahead. But a conversation costs you nothing. Get on the phone and chat. Um, Maybe it's the right time, like it was whenever we connected in September. Maybe it's not the right time, like when we chatted earlier in the year, but it just puts some things in your brain now that I again, I'd rather be ahead than behind. So um, the investment is worth it, provided you're willing to take those steps to get to where it is you want to be.
Mm,
And it sounds really cliche, but that's really what it is. If you invest in yourself, and to be honest, I've never had a time where I've invested in myself and it hasn't paid off. So if you're on the fence, call, chat. You might find, hey, this is the perfect time to invest. And even if it's not the perfect time to invest, it probably is the really good time to invest because it's going to help dig you out of the hole where you're at right now.
yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Um, Sweet, dude. Well, hey, I appreciate the kind words there, and really excited. It's funny. I was like talking to Alli the other day, and I was just like, "You're just like always kind of plugging along in the background," and I was like, "Dude, I feel like sometimes like I'm just like, man, like hopefully like we're helping them enough or whatever," and then we hit you up, and you're like, "Oh yeah, dude, like sign more clients," and so it's been like really fun to work with you, dude. Like you've taken everything, you've hit the ground running with it, executed, and it's been really fun, dude, to see you experiencing momentum. And the cool thing for me as well is like it's also like not been like we've not been running any like challenges or any like big crazy stuff. Like this feels like 2024 for you is going to be like a really big year for your business. Just because it's like, it's not been again like off the back of like anything gimmicky. Like this is just literally like your business is becoming more in demand. People are hitting you up, they're seeing what you're doing, they're clicking with your message. And that's a really good place to be in business, where it's like the business itself is growing itself and creating demands, um, versus like feeling like it's this big marketing trick that's like getting you clients in and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, that kind of wraps back to having the right message and stuff and just, building the foundations and fundamentals of your business. So I'm really excited to see, kind of what keeps happening over the next several months for you. And yeah, dude, it's been a pleasure so far.
Appreciate it.
So with that being said, and dude, I got to get something figured out. My camera just keeps lagging like crazy. But with that being said, happy Friday here, guys. We're gonna hop off this live. We'll have to bring Jerod back on another time. Appreciate you being here, dude. We'll see you guys
You
in the
got it.
next one.